I'm your host, Jody Cohn, and I'm so excited to be joined today by Dr. Ritamarie Loscalzo, an internationally recognized expert in nutritional endocrinology and the founder of the Institute of National Endocrinology, focusing on balance or the science of rebalancing hormones, restoring energy, and using nutrition and lifestyle approaches. Dr. Ritamarie is a doctor of chiropractic with a master's degree in nutrition and certifications in herbal medicine, acupuncture, and HeartMath. Welcome, Dr. Ritamarie.
I'm so excited to be here. I'm just so thrilled that you're doing this. It's one of my favorite things to talk about, so can't wait.
Yeah, I'm really excited if we want to just jump in with how hormones are impacted by the autonomic nervous system and sympathetic dominance.
You know, it's interesting because you're the only person I really, her other person who I hear talk about that so much. And people are like, people come in, they come to get their digestion balanced. And I'm talking about sympathetic, parasympathetic balance because it affects everything. So the stress hormones, right? Cortisol and adrenaline, they impact every function in the body. So shutting down digestive function and throwing the blood sugar balance off and affecting all the other hormones. So it's super, super important, I believe, that we get people from the sympathetic dominance, which sympathetic overdrive, I like to call it, that everybody's living in this state to state, day to day state of sympathetic overdrive. And I think it's the underlying cause of just about every disease.
I agree with you. Right, because when we're in that fight or flight state, everything non-critical to immediate survival shuts down.
Exactly. So I wonder why I don't have sex drive. I wonder why my food feels like it gets stuck in a knot in my stomach, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know. And it's interesting because I know you do a really good job helping people to transition from the sympathetic overdrive state to the parasympathetic state. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, so one of my favorite techniques for doing that is from the Institute of HeartMath. And they have this little technique that I teach everybody. And I teach it in short bursts. And then we go further with it as they get further into programs. But it's called quick coherence. And it's using the combination of breath and gratitude to shift. And it's amazing how quickly it shifts. If I do this with an audience in person, and we have awesome pictures of people at our events just like this, and it's just like I can feel the energy off the audience is so different. And we do it on Zoom calls all the time, and people are going, you know, like that stress just melts away. And it's something people can do all day long, every day, anytime you feel stress coming up. But even not, I tell people before you sit down to a meal, you know, the old state of we did when we were kids was grace before meals, right? And he never knew that, just like, get on with it. Let's just eat. And now it's like, I'm so appreciative that we did that because it helps the food digest better.
And I want to delve a little bit more into parasympathetic and blood sugar, but then I'd love it if you would lead us through something like this.
Sure.
Okay, that'd be amazing. So let's talk a little bit about the physiological effects of cortisol and other stress hormones on the body and how that interacts with our digestion and our blood sugar levels.
Absolutely. So cortisol is a hormone secreted by the adrenal glands, and it comes out when we're stressed. And it's meant to be like the longer lasting hormone. So adrenaline, which is kind of a neurotransmitter hormone combination, gets secreted. So that's what, when we think about a mama lifting that car up of her baby or doing some heroic feats and then collapsing exhausted down there, that the adrenaline just gives the body that push. And then cortisol helps to come in and, you know, continue the process, because you can't keep going with this like quick fit, but it does things like direct the attention away from the extremities. So if there's a tiger chasing to the extremities. So if there's a tiger chasing you, right, you don't want to be digesting your food or thinking about physics problems, right? You want, or sex, right?
Yeah.
You want to be running away from the tiger. So all of the attention is pushed towards the extremities. So you can fight and run, and away from the core, away from the sex organs, away from the digestive tract. So it actually causes the little valves between the sections of the digestive tract to shut down. Sometimes there's a temporary opening up and then shutting down, which is why people get that, you know, they're so scared that they end up having to go to the bathroom, or they, you know, poop their pants or whatever when it's really severe. But mostly it's just is like, let it go and then close everything down, shut down the enzymes, slow the secretions down. And so digestion is not going to happen. And then from the other perspective is, what do we need to run? We need fuel. So it'll go, okay, I need sugar into the bloodstream. And so the cortisol will then go to sugar stores in the body, glycogen stores in the muscles and in the liver, muscle itself, which can be broken down, and then fat. And cortisol preferentially likes protein, likes to take those proteins and break it down into the branched chain amino acids to create fuel. And so what it does is it raises the blood sugar. And when it raises the blood sugar, it calls on the pancreas to secrete more insulin to take that sugar, get it into the cells where it can be useful. So that whole mechanism is very helpful when there's a tiger chasing you. Very helpful, right? You could see that. It makes sense. Does it make sense when the tiger is your boss in the other room going, hurry up and get that report done? Or your kid flunking out of geometry, right? Or your mom who's in a nursing home and needs some decisions made. Those things don't require running and jumping and physical prowess. And so all those same mechanisms happen because your body is equipped not to differentiate. And so it's like survival, survival. And so we're sitting at our desk getting stewed up about hurrying up to get that report done. And meanwhile, the blood sugar is rising. And when this is happening continuously, we end up with a condition called insulin resistance, because the body's responding, high blood sugar, insulin, high blood sugar, insulin. And finally the cells get to the point where the membranes are damaged and they're like, no more, because insulin can damage them in excess. And so we create this whole cascade of problems. The food that you just ate for lunch, as your boss is hounding on you and your digestive tract shuts down, it messes with the microbiome, it messes with absorption of nutrients, and on and on. So these wonderful physiologic processes that are awesome when there's tigers chasing you are terrible when it's the day-to-day 24/7 stress that we all experience.
That was such a great explanation. Thank you. That was really amazing. And I didn't realize, I didn't know. So adrenaline is kind of the quick, immediate fix. And then cortisol is more, like that's the spark plug. And then cortisol is kind of the slower burning log. Kindling.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's a great way to look at it. Yeah.
Wow. That's fabulous. And so what you're really saying is that you can be kind of eating the perfect blood sugar balancing diet, trying to avoid carbs and sugar. But if you're in a situation with stress, there's going to be blood sugar in your system anyway.
Oh, absolutely. And I see this all the time. I do a blood sugar balancing program and people are like, but I'm eating this way and I'm eating that way. And I can't, and I don't know why I'm not losing weight. I don't know why I'm like, breathe for yourself. This is why, because it's not just about what you're eating. The stress is actually, I call it the candy bar eating effect of stress. You get to get the sugar raised as if you ate a candy bar, but you don't get the pleasure of eating the candy bar. And I've experienced it myself where I've lost it and not used the techniques I know to shift myself into parasympathetic. And I've got, I wonder what my blood sugar is. And after having a simple meal of lettuce and tomato and avocado and cucumber, and normally that would raise my blood sugar a few points and come back down, I'm like, oh, 150. I could have eaten a candy bar and gotten that, but instead I just got myself stressed out. So then shift it, and we can actually see the blood sugar go down when you use these techniques. The HeartMath technique's the one that I use, but tapping, is another one. Essential oils, whatever you're doing to bring yourself into that sympathetic state, you can test it and check your blood sugar. And I would love to experiment with your parasympathetic blend of oil, right? That would be really fun to get somebody like stressed out, test the blood sugar, do some breathing, get them down and see how much it goes down. And I've had people tell me that their blood sugar goes down as much as 25 points by just doing the breathing and shifting themselves.
That's amazing. And it's funny, I'm pretty good about not eating sugar, but whenever I have to visit someone in the hospital, all I want is a cookie or chocolate because it must be so stressful for me to think that something bad could happen.
Yeah. And it triggers, you know about pathways, and your nervous system is like wired to the stimulus response thing. So that hospital brings up some things, even if consciously you're not getting stressed, it just brings up so much that it puts you into that state. And give me a cookie. I need a cookie.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think it's a blood sugar overload thing.
Yeah.
Wow. So talk to me. I mean, this is amazing, and blood sugar is so critical. We can even talk about that, for, for your whole function, for brain function, for energy, for healing. Do you want to just quickly kind of explain how blood sugar impacts other parts of your body and how it's a critical component to health?
Yeah, I'll start with brain because you mentioned that. And so many people, as they age, they're afraid of getting Alzheimer's, right? Oh, do I have the genes for it and whatnot? But you're not looking at, have I been abusing my blood sugar balancing systems for the last 30, 40, 50 years? That's a contributing factor to dementia because there's a couple of reasons for that. So what happens is the same way the cells in the body get resistant to insulin and then the sugar stays in the blood and doesn't get into the cells, brain cells happen that way too. We used to think, and when I was in school, we learned that, oh, the brain cells don't need insulin, the sugar just goes right in. But that's not what the recent research is showing, that there's various parts of the brain, including hippocampus, which is that short-term memory, and including the mechanism to go from short-term to long-term. That's impacted by blood sugar. That's impacted by insulin and insulin resistance. So that's one thing. But there's also this other mechanism that most people don't know about. There's this thing called insulin degrading enzyme. So in our bodies are very equipped that we have a response and then there's something to clean up, right? There's something to mop up the mess. And so the mess is, let's get rid of the insulin. So there's an insulin degrading enzyme. And this insulin degrading enzyme is the same enzyme that is secreted in the brain to work on those the neurofibrillary tangles that are associated with Alzheimer's. And so every time you're messing with your blood sugar, so getting stressed, eating poor food, you're messing with your body's ability to keep your brain nice and clean.
That is the cleanest correlation I've ever heard anyone say. Thank you for that. Who do you, if people wanted to look up the research, where would they find out more about that?
There's lots if you just went online, but and just go to Medline. But also the book Alzheimer, the end of Alzheimer's.
Dale Bresnan.
Yep, he talks about that in there too. Yeah.
Amazing, amazing. So let's talk about, because I know you have a whole protocol of techniques. If you would share one of your, well, first of all, if you would explain kind of how gratitude helps us shift from a state of stress to a state of safety and relaxation.
Yeah, so there's a whole body of research. If you go to heartmath.org, it's loaded there. And basically they've done some studies on how do you shift somebody from parasympathetic to sympathetic. And they do more than just that. They hook people up. They test enzymes before and after, hormones before and after, blood pressure, et cetera. And so what they found is that getting into the state of gratitude, like focusing on the heart, is actually what shifts from parasympathetic to sympathetic. Yes, breathing. So they call it heart breathing, heart focus, heart breathing, and heart feeling. So you focus on the heart, and then you breathe from the diaphragm. So, and breathe as if you're breathing into your heart. And then you focus on an emotion. You focus on, like I have people think about like a place where they just felt really good and they have a lot of appreciation. I go to the beach.
Me too.
And it shifts you, like you just can feel it. And the more you practice it, the easier it is to actually feel the sand under your feet and feel the warmth of the waves and the sun and all that. And you just go there. And they found that with the nervous system, if you can trick it into thinking you're really there. So if you relive an experience that was really positive, you're reliving the same hormones and enzymes. And they've hooked people up and tested all this. But it's the same the other way. So if we're reliving a stressful situation, we're recreating the damage to the body, right? So I always tell people, if you're on your way to work and you get cut off and you get all pissed off at this person who cut you off and you're yelling and cursing and you get to work and you just keep telling it, I almost got killed this morning. Unfortunately, that stupid blah, blah, blah. That same, even just saying that, just faking it, just brings this feeling in here. But if you were to say, oh, I'm so grateful I hit the gas pedal in time. No collision happened. I hope that guy was really in a hurry. I hope he doesn't cause an accident further down the road. I sure hope, if he's rushing to get to the hospital to see his sick mother or his baby being born or something, that he gets there safely. What a difference, right?
And it's just by changing the narrative.
Changing the narrative, exactly. And then you go to work and somebody says, how's your day so far? And you go in there and go, I am so blessed. I am so blessed. This guy almost hit me. I don't know what his problem was. I hope he gets safely, but I hit the brakes in time. I'm so fortunate. I'm here. I'm excited. It's a great day.
You know, that's an amazing tool, especially for this, time of uncertainty and COVID. We
Mhm.
can control our own narrative. We
Totally.
can walk outside and decide that it's a beautiful day and be excited about that, or
Exactly.
just be grateful that we have a cute dog that's fun to pet, or, our friends and family are healthy. That's a
Right.
really powerful tool.
It's a super powerful tool. And it's actually easier than we think, because people think, oh, life is this and all this. If we were to really realistically look at all of the bad things that are happening in the world and all of the good things that are happening in the world, the bad is a blip, the good is huge. But nobody's
Yes.
talking about every baby that's born, right? Nobody's talking about all the weddings that are happening, all the, the first time gazing into your newborn's eyes, like people who are doing amazing, wonderful things, altruistic things in the world. We're not focusing our attention there. The news media is focused on things that stimulate sympathetic response, because that sympathetic nervous system stimulates fear. What do people do when they're fearful? They jump out. They want to buy things that are going to save them. They do things that are going to save them, instead of just sitting with, I can shift this right now.
Yes.
Yes, there's stuff out there that's going to happen. It's happening now. It's always going to happen, right? Looking back, I actually think I look back and go, we're blessed. We have had such a blessed life that we think this is disaster. What about people who are living in war zones where you don't know when your house is going to be bombed the next moment? What about people who are living in flood zones, and people who have been destroyed, or their lives have been destroyed in hurricanes and whatnot? And
Or different periods, even, on this, in this country where we've been at war, where people were
yes,
drafted, where they didn't have control over if they lived or died. Like,
right.
we are very lucky.
We are. We've really lived blessed lives in this generation. And yeah, this is a tough year, but let's look at our blessings. Let's just really shift to counting our blessings. And it's hard, you get caught up in it and then you go, okay, what do I have to be grateful for?
Yes. And I want to talk about, I actually just saw an article that was correlating vagus nerve stimulation with improved immunity and
Oh,
resilience against
absolutely.
COVID. Can you speak a little bit to what HeartMath is and how that helps to build vagal tone and build vagal resilience?
Absolutely. You can actually see that the person is shifted. I can actually watch you do it and watch the sympathetic kind of look on the body and the face and the tension, and then just watch somebody while they're doing this, and it shifts right out. It
Oh, I know.
just,
It's like when a hangry person eats and you just see them
like,
relax.
yes, exactly. Exactly. So basically HeartMath is based on the concept of getting into the state of coherence. And coherence is when the brain and the heart are working in harmony with each other. And then that makes the whole rest of the body work in harmony with each other. And they measure, if you want to measure, you don't even have to measure to do the technique, the heart rate variability. So heart rate variability, and what controls the heart? The vagus nerve, right? The vagus nerve controls the heart, it controls the lungs, it controls the digestion. So we're actually getting ourselves, and there's upward and downward nerve impulses to the vagus, right? So I believe, and this I'd have to look at the studies to see if there's actually research that correlates, but I think that when we're focusing on heart and breathing and getting it into coherence, that the stimulus going back up the vagus nerve is safe.
Yeah, I think you can access the vagus nerve at any point along the chain, like through breathing in the lungs, through HeartMath in the heart, through coffee enemas in the gallbladder, through applying essential oils on
Yep.
the nerve. Basically, wherever you interact with it and help it shift gears, it affects the whole
Affects
chain in
everything
tangent.
else. That's the
Yeah.
cool part about it. That's the cool part. So
Yeah.
we basically, we're focusing on this coherence, and we're focusing on appreciation. And that's what, after all their studies, they figured out that the appreciation was that feeling. That was what brings everything together. So the combination of the breathing, focus on the heart, paying attention to it, and then focusing on the feeling, and all of that stuff
Yes.
shifts it so quickly. And I've had a couple of experiences with that. One is testing my own blood sugar, testing blood pressure. I've had people sitting in front of me, hypertensive, they're trying to heal with it. I'll test their blood pressure, it's up. And I go, I'm just going to guide you through a process, and we're going to test your blood pressure again. Comes back, it comes down. right? So when I teach people to do this throughout the day, it's affecting their blood pressure. It's affecting their blood sugar. The blood sugar sometimes is really quick, and sometimes it takes 15 to 20 minutes, but the pressure, it almost goes down immediately.
How often do you recommend people do this?
All day long. No.
Oh, yeah, no, it's true.
I do, when I have them start, I'll say, okay, start with right before you get out of bed and right before you go to sleep. Just start
That's
good.
good. Yeah.
Right? Start with appreciation at the beginning of the day. But if you want your meals to be best digested, you do it before each meal. 30 seconds to a minute is all I'm talking about. You can do the more extended techniques and, more like a meditation or mini meditation, but I like to do it throughout the day. So if I feel myself, like I did it a couple of times during this call, I felt myself I'm mimicking that feeling and I could feel it. So I go there, right? And I do a lot of webinars and sometimes technology breaks, and I've got a few hundred people online and my technology isn't working. And so if I find myself, oh my God, what am I going to do? The other effect of cortisol is to turn off prefrontal cortex and turn on the limbic system, right?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And so you don't have high level thoughts happening through the survival part of your brain. The lizard part of your brain is what gets you out of trouble. The wizard part of your brain is that long-term strategy for how you're going to live your life. And so this gets turned off to save same thing the way that digestion gets off, to save the fuel, to save the energy, to save the attention of the body for what's really needed in that moment. So if I'm feeling like, oh my God, there's a tiger chasing me, when all I have to do is figure out what buttons to press on the software to shift, I go, okay, wait a minute. All right, boom, 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 got it and done, right? But it's amazing how those things just leave your brain when the stress response takes over.
Yes, yes. And a good way to know that is when your pupils are really dilated, when the black part is really big. Like if you're trying to have a conversation with somebody and you notice that their pupils are ginormous, my old parent coach used to say, connect before you correct. Like just try to help them calm down, because the conversation will go much better. If not, you'll probably start a fight over something silly.
Exactly. There's all those things. And it's also, as you learn to see people's bodies, you can see the tension.
Yes.
You can see the tension in the jaw. You can see the tension in the neck even. And, their head starts to do that kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, one thing that I've noticed, your tone is very calm and soothing. Just the way you talk, it's very relaxing. And so, people, when they are mirroring you and your breathing is calm, I think just by being in your presence, it's very calming.
Thank you. Yeah. And that's what you can do. Everybody can do. And it's being aware and having the tones fluctuate. So if I'm telling a story and I'm trying to get the suspense up, it's going to be a different tone than if I'm trying to calm somebody down and let them drop into their heart space and increase their vagal tone.
This was so amazing. Thank you so much. And how can people learn more about you and your work and maybe some of your meditations?
Yeah, so drritamarie.com is my main website, and we have lots of free stuff out there. We have programs and for pretty much everything. We have hormone balancing, elixir recipes for free, and breakfast recipes and all that. So I would just head over to the drritamarie.com site and take a look around there. We also have practitioner training programs where we train people who are either health coaches or doctors or nurses who really want to get into nutritional endocrinology, more how do you manipulate the body function using nutrition and lifestyle. So that's all available from there.
Is there anything else that you wanted to add?
Yeah, just trust your body and learn to observe it. HeartMath calls it, they have a name for it, observing what quadrant you're in. It's like, where are you right now? Right now, I'm feeling excited. So I've got that level of excitement there. And then I'm feeling very safe. And yeah, so it's like, where are you falling? Like, I love their grid. They have a grid and I used to explain it to people. And before I even had that tool, and I'm like, oh, they've done a picture for it. It's really good. Like, observe where you're at right now. What am I feeling right now? Am I feeling stressed? Do I have high level of excitement or a low level? So there's all these different emotions, and there's a time and the place for all of the stuff on the positive side. So there's a whole range of positive emotions. There's a whole range of negative emotions. And there's room for those negative emotions to get away from the stress response. You don't want to stop when your tiger's chasing you and go, oh, let me breathe. No, you want that response then, because that's going to save your life. But if you're sitting there going, trying to get a report done where you need this part of your brain, is learning to just go, I can do this, and activate what you already know is in there.
Yeah, it's funny when Max died, that was my best tool. I used to say it was like looking through a screen door. Some people say it's like watching a movie of yourself.
Yeah,
But that ability to be the objective observer and not necessarily feel like you were in it, so that you could make better choices.
exactly. Yeah, and the kind of stress you've been through is like a parent's worst nightmare, and it's how do we respond to that without collapsing? And you couldn't. You have another child to take care of. You have a life to take care of, and we want to just collapse, but knowing that we can activate that part of the brain that goes, okay, what do I have to do to move on, and allowing yourself to have your moments, and then, okay, now what do I have to do to keep moving
That
forward?
that saved my life. That's why I'm doing this, because my world collapsed and kept, there were different blow-ups every single day. And I realized that whenever, I'd have friends that were catastrophizers, and if I kind of went on that train of thought, I was just out. It was almost like I couldn't even function.
Right.
And then when I was able to keep it together, I felt better. And so I started noticing when I felt better, like, what did I do right? And it was always activating the parasympathetic response.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. And we always have access to it. That's the thing. We all feel like victims when it happens out there, right? You could feel victimized. Why did this happen to me? And this is so horrible. And, or you can just, okay, yes, you got that feeling. Well, yes, you want to process your grief, not all saying you should be stuffing it, because that's not good either. Processing it and you go, okay, what do I need to do to move on? How do I get back into that parasympathetic? Yeah.
Yeah, and my therapist actually says, like, victims only see problems, survivors see solutions, and
Ooh,
thrivers see opportunity.
I
And
love it.
it's all a shift in your brain and your nervous system to get out of, like, I almost challenge anyone, if there's a problem in your life that feels insurmountable, if you can practice some of Rita Marie's techniques and help yourself ground and center and get into that heart space, all of a sudden you'll see so many more possibilities. It's not like this unsolvable problem. It's like, oh, look,
Yeah.
I could do this, I could do that.
Exactly. Exactly. And it doesn't take away from needing to feel and feeling, but that can't take over. And that's typically what victims do. It's like everything's wrong no matter what you do. And they just never can move forward. I love that. I'm going to use that if you don't mind
Oh
that.
no, steal it,
Yeah,
steal
I
freely.
love it. I love it. Beautiful. And that's why I start every program with activate your parasympathetic, activate your parasympathetic. Let's start this now. Yeah.
Well, this was amazing. Thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
your time. You're
Thanks for
great.
having me. I thought it was awesome too. I had fun. Thank you.
Thank you.